Suddenly, the neighbor who used to visit every weekend no longer does. The meals they used to join you for, the groceries they used to purchase, and the fuel they used to pump are all gone. It feels strange to have that small absence in your neighborhood. You start to understand the shock that is emerging in American tourism when you magnify that loss across the entire country. Canadians have been the main source of visitors to the United States for many years. Every year, tens of millions of trips kept restaurants alive, hotels full, malls busy, and border towns bustling. However, in 2025, something noteworthy occurred. The steady flow of visitors slowed to a trickle. According to recent data, Canadian travel to the United States has decreased by about 25%. Car crossings decreased by over 1/3 in some months when compared to the previous year. This isn't just a drop. The American economy is losing billions of dollars in just a few months, and it's a catastrophe. Who's to blame? Including, but not restricted to, airfare and exchange rates. Politics is involved. The border is the scene of a conflict. Vacation destination preferences are changing, and it's affecting everything from Buffalo to Miami. Florida is seeing fewer snowbird visits. Duty-free stores along the northern border are empty. Airlines are cutting flight schedules because of low demand. What then caused this sharp decline? Why are more Canadians staying in their home country or traveling to the Caribbean or Mexico rather than relocating south? Above all, can the US repair the damage before it's irreparable? We're going to unpack that today, and sign up. Because what you're about to hear is a story that hasn't been fully told in most mainstream headlines. A custom was broken. For many years, Canadians considered traveling south to be almost a cultural ritual. Families piled into cars to go shopping over the weekend. Fans of hockey traveled across the border to watch games. For months of sunshine, retirees journeyed to Florida and Arizona. However, that rhythm broke in 2025. Money wasn't the only factor. The Canadian dollar did indeed sway, but there was a political rift at its core. Over the winter, Washington and Ottawa clashed. Tariffs landed on Canadian goods. Border security toughened. American officials issued sharper and occasionally insulting statements against Canada. The reply north of the border was immediate. Polls revealed a majority of Canadians suddenly felt less likely to vacation in the US. The media reinforced allegations of tourists waiting hours at borders and being subjected to rigorous questioning and even random checks of phones and laptops. Artists and journalists cautioned that attending events stateside now carried more stress and harassment than before. So as spring rolled along, cancellations piled in. Airlines observed vacant seats. Travel agents observed fewer packages sold to Vegas, New York, and Orlando. What was previously a simple weekend excursion now came with hesitation. Multiply that hesitancy by millions of Canadians, and you have the groundwork for today's problem. The numbers behind the collapse. It's easy to dismiss fewer tourists as abstract, but the figures are jaw-dropping. Tourism data for 2025 shows Canadian travel to the US reduced by about 1/4 compared with the prior year. That means millions fewer visitors dining in American restaurants, renting vehicles, and reserving hotels. Economists calculate that this loss corresponds to $8 to $9 billion in missing revenue this year alone. Car traffic took the biggest hit. By July, Canadian auto travel into the US had plummeted 37% compared with the previous summer, the 7th straight month of decrease. Air travel followed suit. Routes that once ran at full capacity now experienced double-digit passenger decreases. Airlines have reduced flights because demand simply isn't there. When combined, the image is grim. This isn't just a few empty hotel rooms. It's billions of dollars taken from an industry that leans on Canadians more than any other multinational group. And the year isn't even over. The ripple across America. The fallout isn't evenly dispersed. Some localities feel the anguish significantly more. Border communities are ground zero. Buffalo, New York, Duluth, Minnesota. Tiny towns across North Dakota. For years, Canadian day trippers sustained their local economies, filling gas stations, diners, shops, and even amateur sports events. But in North Dakota alone, Canadian crossings plummeted roughly 30% in just the first half of 2025. That's $14 million gone from local cash registers, money that traditionally circulated through mom-and-pop shops and local jobs. Further south, the situation darkens. Florida, long the winter haven of Canadian retirees, is witnessing its snowbird numbers fall substantially. In Q2, Canadian tourists declined by 1/5 compared with last year. For a state where Canadians used to account for 3% of all tourists, that's big. Even America's top-tier cities are ailing. San Francisco, once steady with Canadian travelers, reported steep reductions this year. Tourism officials in New York City recognized the loss of hundreds of thousands of overseas visitors, half of whom were Canadian. That implies billions lost in hotel bookings, Broadway tickets, and fine dining tabs. The ripple reaches from border gas stations to global symbols like Times Square. Why the shift? So, why are Canadians suddenly staying away? It comes down to three forces: politics, border experience, and alternatives. Politics. Ottawa-Washington tensions intensified early this year. Trade battles, tariffs, and harsh rhetoric soured public perception. Surveys found more than 60% of Canadians less eager to travel south for political reasons. For many, vacation bucks felt like votes. Spending them in the US seemed like endorsing ideas they hated. Border experience. Once a simple passport flash and a smile, crossings in 2025 become more daunting. Stories of phone searches, long waits, and rude treatment spread widely. For families with kids or retirees on budgets, the hassle outweighed the fun. Alternatives. Canadians aren't giving up travel. They're redirecting it. Mexico's beaches, Caribbean resorts, and even Europe are benefiting from greater Canadian demand. Domestic tourism in Canada is also rising. Parks, beach getaways, and local cities are reaping the benefits of cash originally earmarked for the US. Together, these three dynamics explain why the North's most loyal visitors are walking away. Who gets hurt? The consequences ripple through every layer of the US economy. Airlines like Air Canada reported a 7% drop in trans-border passengers earlier this year, forcing route cuts and lowering forecasts. Airports, ground crews, and nearby businesses all feel the squeeze. Duty-free shops along the border report sales plunging 40 to 80%. Gas stations and outlet malls that thrived on Canadian weekends are struggling to survive. In Florida and Arizona, fewer snowbirds mean empty condos, slower car rentals, and quiet golf courses. Seasonal jobs are disappearing. All told, billions have already vanished from the economy. What began as political friction has grown into a tourism emergency. Can the U.S. win them back? The future is unknown. Recovery relies on if America can repair its image with Canadian vacationers. Tourism boards in Florida, California, and New York have launched campaigns, discounted hotels, targeted marketing in Toronto and Vancouver, even special packages. But early results look modest, because the problem isn't just money, it's trust, it's perception. Canadians now regard alternatives as kinder, easier, often cheaper. Industry analysts fear that if the slump continues into winter, the US might lose billions more. Remember, Canadians aren't casual tourists. They're repeat guests. They remain longer. They spend heavily. Without them, employment and small businesses face long-term damage. The main challenge is psychological. Can Canadians once again feel comfortable at the border? Can politics cool sufficiently to make a journey south feel like pleasure instead of a statement? Until those questions are answered, discounts and ad campaigns won't be enough. For now, Canadians are traveling to Mexican resorts, European capitals, and even Canada's own destinations. Every dollar spent abroad, or at home, is a dollar the US has lost. Unless the tide flips soon, 2025 could be regarded as the year America's nearest neighbor walked away from its tourism sector. The absence is measured in billions. But the greater damage may be something harder to rebuild: trust. So, can the US win back Canada's travelers? Only time will tell. If you found this analysis useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and add your ideas in the comments. If you found this information insightful and want to stay updated on the latest travel trends and economic developments, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps us continue to bring you in-depth analysis and stories that matter. Join our community to be the first to know about new updates, expert insights, and tips to help you navigate a rapidly changing world. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to sharing more with you soon.